Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Grow Great Live. Just picking up from last week, we're continuing on our conversation on labels. And Mariana, why don't you take it away?
Well, based on what Antonia was talking about last week, and if you haven't seen it, please go and see it. Two words were coming up as I was listening to her and thinking about my own growing up, and then also some of the families that I've seen that. The first will be the truth around labels. The second is the need for belonging. So let me explain a little bit what I think about that. Um, Through Antonia's story and also some stories that I've seen and experienced, um, that label that the whole family was experiencing as a not attractive family was based, contrary to all the other evidence that it's not true, was based on something that was not true. Um, it all of those things that your parents were saying and that you were saying yourself and your siblings were saying, it wasn't true. Like you said, on contrary, the sister had boyfriends, you had relationships, parents themselves had a relationship, your father was charming, so it was not true. However, at one point somebody decided for themselves that that's the truth. So that was their truth, even though everybody else will be saying no, it's not true. It was the truth for them. And then consequently, as a need to belong, because we all have a need to belong. That's why we have gangs. That's why we have churches. Or that's why we have all these different things where people join just to feel the need, feel the need for belonging. To belong to that family, you all have to adopt that as your own truth so that you can belong to that family. So, for instance, for me, one of the labels that my mom gave me is that I will have to study hard and learn hard because I'm just not smart enough. And I didn't believe many of the labels that she put on me, but for some reason, I believed that one, even though my father really worked hard to prove it to me that I am smart, because I was picking up things, really quickly. I was, recognizing patterns. I was doing many, many things, and I still am. But that label, for some reason, stuck, with me. And sometimes when the label stuck for a long time with us, it could be that it was created, that was put upon us, or it was created in the moment when we were really, really vulnerable. So the person who shared that with us and put it on us, we trusted that person in that moment. And it was I guess the sum of all events or experiences in that moment that we had, and our soul was totally open, our brain was totally open, emotionally we were totally open to receive that. So when it came to us, we didn't have the ability to process that in the moment consciously and say, wait, is this really true? Is this really true for me? Maybe there's an evidence that this is not true. We were unable to process that in that moment. So I'm guessing that that's how the labels that are long term stick with us, because we were in that moment very emotionally and soulfully kind of susceptible to believe that. And then even though we were presented with many, many evidences and situations down the line that are totally contrary to whatever we were believing, and we believe, we were just, no, I'm sticking to it. And it took me a long, long time until I realized, and many people telling me, wow, that was very smart, you were very smart, that was smart, that was a smart decision. For me to realize, to say, hey, you know what, I am smart. How can I exchange the label of you're not smart enough, therefore you have to work harder, and therefore if you don't, you will never be enough, or you will never be loved. For me to kind of switch it on and say, wow, that was good. And again, it took a conscious effort. So every time I will do something that was deemed as smart by myself or somebody else, I will have to pause in there and get almost like an emotional flood through myself to say, wow, I did this, and this is how it led to that, and this is how it's going to impact other people. How is my smart decision going to impact other people and bring value to this world? And God damn it, I am smart. And again, it was a process, but yeah, that's my thought on it.
That's really beautiful. I'm loving all these like vulnerable expressions that everyone's sharing, and I'm sure our audience is enjoying listening to it too. It brings up a lot of emotions as I hear you guys talk about, well, you know, I mentioned before, in the context of my family, I was really the one who saved everybody. I saved everybody because my parents aren't going to worry if the lights are off and the house doesn't burn down. I save everyone because whenever anyone's in trouble, be it financially, maybe to a part emotionally, Rhea might jump in and help out. That's just the role I play. I save. And, I think back to the fact that if the lights had to be taken off or something had to be done in childhood, the fact that my parents are looking to me to confirm and I'm looking to them to assure them, don't worry, I got it covered. It was like the unsaid thing. Well, we're looking to you because Annie's not necessarily going to be responsible for that. So how does that, when you extrapolate in my life, how did that play out and how did it affect me? Two things come to mind. One was I went to Europe for 2 years and, well, almost 2 years, kind of backpacking around. And as you can imagine, that was really expensive. It was great, but very expensive. And because I saved people, I had a younger brother and sister, and if they needed anything, and my parents were away and they were back and forth in different countries, I could help out. Like if they needed a pair of shoes, sure, I could pay for a pair of shoes for them. But I had spent out all of my money, and I had defined myself by this label of I save people. So now I've gone to Europe and I have zero money in my bank account, like nothing, like $5. And I'm thinking to myself, and I remember that I kept calling them the kids because my younger brother and sister, even though they're 10 years younger, I'd call them the kids. And I go, and the kids needed something. And I realized that this unsaid label had attached so strongly to me that this role that no one asked me to play, like mother, father, like kids, no one asked me to play this, but I had taken it upon myself and I had defined myself by it so strongly that the fact that I couldn't go out and buy whatever it was that they needed or service them in any ways, like whatever that was, I can't even remember, but it was something that involved money for something, that I hit this moment of, well, who the hell am I if I'm not that? Who am I? What defines who Rhea is? Because if she's not able to save people, then what good is she? Like, what role does she play? And I remember just thinking that that was so closely tied to me that it was a great friggin' burden to have on my shoulders. And I wasn't feeling like I could like point a finger at mom or dad or the kids or Annie, but somehow it had been created, and it created this stress in my life. And I really started to taste that to take this on is a lot of work, because I don't want to have that definition, because it's too much I have to do in order to live up to that. And so now all of a sudden I grow up, I have my own family, I have my own kids, and then again, I save people. I'm saving my husband, I give him the fun jobs. We talked about this in previous sessions. I dive in and I save. But every mother, who are all of us on this panel, knows that it is bone-tiring work being a mother. So when you start I'm like taking care of my family and I save everybody, all of a sudden I hit a point when I just come back from a really epic holiday in New Zealand, which was really quite recently, and finally realized as I burst into tears, and I can't cry because I don't have food in my mouth and my kids have no clothes, but I'm crying because I can't be that person. I can't be that person that saves everybody and worries about other people and fixes everyone's problems. I sometimes don't have to pull from my baby toe to give me the strength to show up for the morning in a way that I want to. So I realized that having this label on me, even though it wasn't overt, no one can point the finger and go, Daddy did that. It still was there. And my awareness of it was, I think, very therapeutic, because once I realized I just can't do that. This is how I'm known. This is how I see myself, and I can't be that, and it's okay. I'm not a bad person because I can't save everyone, but I don't want to wear this anymore because it's burdened me, and I've got enough things on my plate. So I can find now new ways of being that I can graciously bow out of it with no make wrongs or pointing the finger or blame, and still feeling like I can still stand tall and be okay with taking care of myself. So as a mother, that was very, very powerful for me to get to, and this is all from a label that I had so closely identified, and this is how it played out with, breaking down in the kitchen, sometimes getting angry, sometimes getting frustrated, but secretly because I had identified with this label of
Yeah.
saving. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that came up for me while you were talking, because Mariana and I, both of our stories have to do with like labels that were given to us. You're talking about a label that unconsciously, wordlessly was given to you, or rather that you adopted, and we adopted our labels too. What came up for me is that we do the same thing of overgeneralization and categorizing labeling, because we're trying to figure out the world and we're trying to figure out ourselves. Like I mentioned in the very first session that we did, we label because it helps manage a world that is unmanageably complicated. And so it's not just that other people are doing that to us. They're trying to manage an understanding of that. We also are trying to figure out who we are. And that is unmanageably complicated because there's so much inside of us to figure out and learn, especially as we're aging and we're changing so quickly. And so we adopt these labels not just because they're given to us by people we trust, but also because they're handy for us. Who am I? Like, who am I in this world? Who am I in this space? Oh, I'm the person who caretakes, right? That's me. And so we do that because we're also trying to figure it all out, and those labels are super convenient for us too. And so it's not just a matter of like it's done to us. We do it to ourselves and we pass it along. And if we can, as you were talking, I was thinking if we can just kind of hold space for ourselves and recognize that we do it and have a generosity of spirit for ourselves and the people who are doing it around us, and recognize that it's a survival tactic. It's a strategy that we emulate because it's been a good strategy for a long time. It just might be hitting its law of diminishing returns now, like at this time period in history when we're becoming so much more aware and conscious and emotionally sophisticated. Like the strategy of labeling might have hit its moment of it's no longer as useful. And so, people who are into, say, conscious parenting are going to be the mavens. They're going to be the early adopters of the next technology, which is maybe we don't need labels. So if it's difficult to wrap our heads around this concept, if it's difficult to figure this piece out, it's because we come from a long line of labeling, right? Like this is new technology. Figuring this out it's new on the scene. It's new because we're finally at a level of conscious sophistication where we can handle it. Whereas before it may not have been something that we could handle. So like holding space for ourselves, being patient with us trying to figure out how to deal with our children without this tool, right? And trying to figure out other tools, that has to be expected because that's where we're at in the stream of time, really.
Mariana, you get the final word on this.
I like the idea of figuring it out, because God knows we all figure it out as we go, and every day there is something that is happening. And I was thinking about because as I said, I don't have siblings, but I have two boys that are very, very different. There are very little things that are, very little number of things that are similar, that are common to them, which is that, Ivan and I are their parents. They're both boys. They both love soccer. Other than that, they're vastly different. And in the beginning, it was really, I wouldn't want to say it was frustrating, but it was kind of difficult for me because the younger one is so much different than the older one. And you kind of, as a parent, you kind of try to dumb it down and kind of streamline the parenting. So, okay, what worked with this one is going to work with that one because I already know, I've been there, I've done that. And then all of a sudden you realize that the other one is so darn different that you just have, and it keeps you on your toes. You have to figure out the way how, one thing but that might have worked for the older one doesn't, work for the younger one. And it was difficult for me in the beginning. And then I thought to myself, instead of, trying to find a way, trying to find the streamline this, trying to find, the easy way, the easy path, how come, I can't just go and enjoy the differences, enjoy the magic of differences between the two of them, and enjoy my own amazing ability to come up with a new way of raising them and come up with a new way of appreciating, all that is different about them and trying to figure them out. And that's where the next step was, again, the curiosity that, became prominent on both of them. That didn't work for this one. Is it going to work for that one? And so it was much easier, I guess, to go from, trying to find the proven way and trying to label not just the person, but the process as well, to go into the curiosity and come up with something new. So just look at it as welcome the how can I say this? Just welcome the challenge. Welcome the challenge of going the opposite way from what's known and what's being suggested or requested from the environment or the upbringing or the media or whatever the mixed messages that you ever got.
Thanks, Mariana. And folks, we're out of time, and this is going to bring our conversations and ideas on what you can do if you're labeling or just doing some soul searching into your own life about where this has come from and what's become of it and how you can interact with your children in new and novel ways. So as always, we would love to hear your comments. Put them below. It'll be really exciting to read them. Tell us about your experiences, and we really look forward to you joining us next week. Bye now.